Welcome to another episode of Coaching Football with Brian Clee. Are you ready for a half hour of stopping power? All right, I know hour of power is a little bit more of a double wing thing, but power is a big part of the full house tee, and that's why some people call it the power tee. On top of that, if you are a defensive coach at any level of football, high school, college, or the pros, you're going to see a power scheme sometime during your season. No matter what offense you defend, at some point, you're seeing a power type scheme. And ultimately, here in episode 4, we're going to show how I think you should go about defending it, and more specifically, why it's very challenging to defend as part of the full house tee offense. So sit back, enjoy, and let's have some fun stopping power for the next half hour.
Today we're going to talk about defending the power play in the full house tee, and how really this ends up being the bread and butter of tee team schemes of pounding the off tackle area, and that's why sometimes the offense is called the power tee, because they make their living with big halfbacks pounding you off tackle in the C gap area. Real quick recap, if you saw episode 3, skip ahead just a little bit in the video, because I've covered this already. If this is the first time you've ever checked out one of my episodes, this part I'll go as quick as possible and whatnot, because we want to get to some film here. But ultimately, I think any defensive philosophy or scheme should be a flexible system that plays any given offensive scheme with similar principles. And what I mean by that is you shouldn't be going defense of the week because different offense presents problems. You should have very similar assignments, rules, reads, techniques for any offense that you're facing. Obviously, you got to match the formation, and tighter formations you got to tighten up with them. Spread formations you got to spread out with them. But largely, players should have similar techniques. From an overall scheme standpoint, you can be odd, you can be even, you one high, two high, all that stuff. But every defense has to have a force defender that sets the edge, has to have inside defenders that fill gaps, has to have an alley player that fits inside that force defender but outside of the filled gaps, and then should have a player responsible for the backside cutback or counter or misdirection. And then lastly, every sound defense should simultaneously have aggressive run fits, but account for all receiving threats either by man coverage or zone coverage. And within that zone coverage, it should limit the amount of run-pass conflict that a player has to go from their run fit, recognize pass, and get into drop into their zones. Obviously, further away from the ball, you can have a deeper zone responsibility. Closer to the ball, your zone has to be somewhere inside. The full house tee, if you want to see why this offense is challenging and unique here in the state of Michigan, I'm sure it's running a couple other places, but go back, watch episode 1 and 2. They'll be in the description at the bottom of the video. The full house tee, it's going to rely on a wall of down blocks and a gap scheme, and getting a kick out of a defender just outside of that and create a running lane. So the defense has to create gaps in that wall either by ripping under down blocks or squeezing the air out of down blocks if the down block's inside of them. We prefer to spill the ball and kill it on the perimeter because it allows our guys to have consistent run fits, to play downhill and just be fast to the ball and fill gaps aggressively. We also prefer primarily to play matchup zone coverages from a too-high shell, as we strongly feel it allows 11 defenders to defend the run on every play and become a potential tackler. We're going to focus more on the powers because if you haven't seen the 3rd episode, trap was covered in that. It'll be in the description at the bottom. Go check it out if you haven't. The power play, both our run fits for trap and power end up being very, very similar. And we became much more successful when we had coached up our guys through both their visual keys and reads and their techniques to make both plays, to fit both plays similarly. The big difference, the power play, the kickout's happening by the halfback there, the W. He's kicking out our 9 technique stud linebacker, walked up on the line of scrimmage there. And then they're going to double team typically both a 0 and either a 4 or 5 technique. So we're trying to penetrate and flip our hips and get through those double teams. You'll see some of that on film coming up here shortly. Our MAC linebacker is going to take the first available window. So a lot of times on power with those double teams, he'll get a B-gap run through. Sometimes that pulling guard will pull up early and fit on and block that MAC linebacker. Other times there's a chance for a 0-yard or tackle for loss situation. Our will linebacker, you can either have him key a guard or the backfield, and when he gets that either guard away or near back away, he's scraping to the first open window across the midline. He knows he can cross the midline at that point. And I'll show fits in different fronts, but we prefer an odd front because that 0 technique knows whether you have him 2 gap in or you have him on a slant or angle. If he goes to the play side A gap, that will linebacker is going to get across clean every single time. And you'll see him make plays all the way out in D gap, almost like an alley player. From there, backside, we're trying to get hit pockets out of our backside 4 technique and our backside 9 technique. And then the corner, the purple guy there, he's our cutback player. He's shuffling and folding for make sure that if the play pops and maybe winds back or we maybe over pursue it a little bit at the linebacker level, he's making sure it doesn't go for a touchdown. And then lastly, our force player is our corner. He's got to be very disciplined to make sure the quarterback doesn't have the ball and also be in a position to tackle spilled powers. And then our safety, on the power play, he gets to be more aggressive, fitting downhill in the alley because that tight end typically is down blocking any 5 or 7 technique, so he can pull his trigger a little faster there. Even too high, run fits. Again, I think you're best playing it downhill. You got your corner forcing, that's going to be the same. The big difference here is while you can coach your guys to get hands-on offensive linemen releasing on down blocks and whatnot, and you still definitely can spill. I think that middle linebacker needs to be a really special kid to be a too high even front against anything really. He's got to be big and strong enough that he can take on down blocks by guards and tackles, but then also have the ability to run sideline to sideline when you do get hands on all those down blocks and you keep them clean. But similar fits there with, again, the right there 7 technique. He should be visual keying that tackle and ripping down inside, making sure the ball spills outside of him if he gets that tight end trying to down block inside of him. And the T teams will try to do that. Sometimes they'll also block him right away. And again, that's the other reason we don't like an even front as much, because now that stud linebacker would actually become, or corner would become the kick out if you're relying on a 7 technique there. Odd 1 high. I think this is actually great for defending the power play. Whether you go 3-0-3 in front like it's drawn up in there, or 4-0-4, you're going to keep linebackers, the stand-up inside linebackers, clean. Again, you're trying to fit downhill. I think that's best. The guy at that J position, he'd be the extra linebacker. We use this very minimally. The big difference with 1 high, if you watched in the previous video, the cutback, I don't know how much you can rely on that corner to be cutback guy, because if he gets that tight end releasing and that tight end never hooks up, he's got to be ready for that tight end to bend and come back on a flag. So he can't support the cutback as aggressively as if you're a too high shell. And then you also have the issue of, all right, maybe you do admit he's not going to be the cutback guy. Well, now you got to teach the backside outside linebacker there, who's in a 6 technique on this diagram, how's he going to play the cutback? Is he going to be a cutback guy and distinguish, hey, that's play away, I'm going to shuffle and look to fold in on things and be a little bit more patient, versus when it's at me, the 6 technique on the other side there, the stud linebacker, I need to be ripping inside and spilling. I guess you could have the philosophy of both these guys are going to kick, but that's ultimately how things are drawn up, and I'd much rather spill. So if you're a boxing exclusive team with 6 or 9 techniques there, and I guess you'd be 9 techniques probably if you're trying to have those guys be the force players, you could probably have this guy be responsible for cutback, but I'd rather be more aggressive. And then an even front, we'll use this at times, even one high front. Anytime we know that they're, because of the tendency, the game situation, they're going to run the ball. Either they're down in the 4 or 5 yard line area, and the probability of them throwing a pass, they don't have as much room to beat you with the pass. So your secondary can be a little more aggressive, and you have to be anyways if you get down in that situation. And then also the cutback issues. We're not worried about the cutback if they get 2 or 3 yards, the cutback's already in the end zone for the corner. So here we are. Power, we're in our 5-0-5 front. Our 9 technique stud linebacker is going to do a great job of playing the down block. Squeezes him, turns his shoulders. He's looking for that near halfback to come at him. Our play side linebacker ends up seeing that the A gaps and B gaps are getting filled, and he's working downhill too. Ends up nice and clean, makes the tackle. Our stud linebacker does a nice job of kind of spilling it to himself to an extent. Here's a good example of heel line pursuit out of our backside 9 technique. Our play side 9 technique is going to have a real good spill here. Tight end down block. If you look closely, he has canceled the C gap. Our MAC linebacker is now able to scrape and continue to fill downhill. It'd be a great shot when we get to the end zone view here in a second. We got our secondary. This guy's looking for the cutback. The play side corner is ready to kill the spill. Our play side safety was able to pull his trigger because that tight end down blocked our 5 technique. And we make a nice tackle for a 2-yard gain. Love the end zone view. So 9 techniques key in that tight end's down block. He gets it. He is now working to rip inside and spill the kick out by the halfback. Runs the circle. And by running that circle, that keeps your linebacker cleaner, your inside linebacker's cleaner to really scrape downhill. He's not scraping, he's filling downhill more than he's scraping side to side. Take it back for a second. Let's just watch that. So right here, number 82 is our MAC linebacker. Let's just watch him as we go through here. He really doesn't change his path much until he sees that he actually comes up and he gets hands on the tight end's back and fits tight right offside that. And we've got a swarm. This was our pink out game, our breast cancer awareness game. You tackle good. You tackle really well. Like our MAC linebacker could have tackled a little lower, and maybe we get a stop for 0 yardage. But you tackle really well when you got 6 unblocked players swarming and gang tackling. So now we got power on. So we'll get a base block against our 9 technique here. And he does a great job stepping and striking the tight end. Resets the line of scrimmage, falls off, makes a tackle for a 1-yard loss. And this is where you have to coach up the technique of your player to recognize, all right, is it a down block? I need to match it inside. Is it an on block? I'm stepping and striking it, and I'm going to push it back where it came from. We happen to also, we had a 5 technique here, so we kind of have 2 guys in the C gap, but our MAC linebacker is going to take the first run through, the first open window he sees, which forces the player to go wider. And our nine technique stud linebacker cuts him down. Real good play. Once again, you tackle better when you get multiple on-block defenders to the ball. And I think a spill philosophy does that a little better than some other things. And this also, on this play, you're going to see we get washed pretty bad. We're not on an inside movement. Again, inside movement, it's great against the trap play. It's decent against the power. It depends on how the offense starts to adjust to it. But our nose cancel the A gap. We cancel the B gap with our squeeze and 4 technique. Our 9 technique cross the tight end's face. He's fitting the C gap. And even though we get washed, this lets our inside linebacker stay downhill. He barely has to scrape. Our backside linebacker ends up overlapping. Oh, he gets cut. He gets cut. But our play side linebacker gets there. Our nose defeats the double team, splits it. We get a good play. This is from this year. We get good activity out of our 9 technique and our supporting safety in the alley. End zone view will have a better explanation. Slow it down and see some things here. This is that one high odd look that I talked about. So we're 5-0-5. Our inside linebackers, we got B gap, and then our nose and our what we call our jaws linebacker in the middle, because he's our extra linebacker that normally isn't on the field. They're working the A gaps. We have a pinch called, so we're canceling the B gaps. We're trying to take away trap with that pinch. Our inside linebacker knows to replace and go to the C gap, and they're on blocking our 9 technique. So our safety from depth, our one high safety, does a great job picking up things. The tight ends are not immediate vertical threats for him, especially going out. And our will linebackers filling that C gap quickly. Downhill, and we spill it in the end. That 9 technique was playing the reach, and it was just taking a while to get out there. So he rips inside, and we filled all the interior gaps while our Mac linebacker from the backside scrapes across because he stayed clean. Our safety in our corner does a great job leveraging the ball, and our safety makes a very nice tackle in the alley. Here we go, power to our side of the screen. It ends up being power on. And the thing that filling downhill lets you do as an inside linebacker is take the first available gap. And when you get, instead of the down blocks, you're still in position to make the play when the down blocks aren't working to the linebackers, the inside linebackers. And that's just not a great camera angle, so we're going to move on. Power ISO on, so you won't see that fullback fake. Just a great job by one of the better kids I've coached. Lots of energy. We're playing in a real close game here. Great job getting out there. See the end zone shot. Right there. I mean, corners force, 9 techs fit in D gap, 5 techs in C gap. Our will linebackers running to B gap, Mac linebackers scraping. He's in position for cutback. Our 0 tech nose is in the A gap. We got our backside pursuit from our 9 technique and our cutback player there. Now the team, they actually broke the full house T. They're in a wing T formation. We're going to run power to our left here. And we end up fitting it very nicely. If you watch the play one more time, a little bit closer, our 9 technique is down inside. The kick out block's still happening, but it's from a wing position, and we get a very good play out of our 5 tech fighting the double team there. And I think one of the key things, again, fitting downhill, giving your force defender a clear read. That halfback hooked up. If they can only run one route, our safety can cover it now. Our 5 technique fits the C gap. We got a D gap fit by our 9 technique. Our backside linebackers pursuing. And a real good play by both the 9 technique running the circle around that down block by the wing, and our 5 technique of gets beat by the double team a little bit, but does a great job of knowing where the ball's going and pursuing. Down at the goal line, this is, again, talked about that even one high front. We're counting on them running the ball. Play action pass, we're going to, 1st and 4, we're assuming that, hey, if play action pass comes, we'll kind of clap our hands at you, especially if you're able to put it in a spot where our corner can't cover both the arrow route and the flag route that ends up happening. Great job here at the point of attack by our 5 technique, our 9 technique, and our 30 technique linebacker. Our will linebacker's downhill. He's dipping and ripping inside the tight end's down block. Our 9 technique, you see him starting to close. He is spilling the halfback's kick out real nicely. Our 5 technique, his pad level's higher than what it should be, but he's flipping his hips. And he has made it so that way he's not getting double teamed by flipping his hips. And he's going to reset the line of scrimmage late. Very, very strong kid. We're blessed to have had him play for us the past 4 years. He's played 37 varsity football games. Makes a big stop down around the goal line. There's this year, we're one high, odd front. Get our spill by our 9 technique. Our play side inside linebacker was downhill. He spilled it too. And we get good pursuit out to the perimeter. End zone shot. Tight end down block. We squeeze the air out of it. 9 techniques looking to spill. Our 5 tech end ends up fitting the B gap. He's on a called pinch to take away the trap. Our play side linebacker is going to fit downhill, tight off of that pinch. We've just made sure that the ball ends up really all the way out into what would be E gap, which means our corner and our safety know it's run and can pursue to it. Corner forces, safety's coming in the alley. We got backside pursuit out of a couple players. Even our pinching 5 technique gets back in on the play. Bunch of green shirts, very good play. He gets that down block out of the guard. Open window, he takes it. Our 5 techniques in C gap. Plays bottled up, they don't have a puller. We fit the near hip, roll tackle, and again, we came real close to making a big 3rd down stop. Power ISO on, they'll be on the 9 technique. We'll have a single block on the 5. We're slanting. We actually we slant into it, not away from it. So our 9 techniques inside, he's in C gap, so that spill happens quick, and we get good pursuit. End zone shot. I'll show you where so our 4 technique, we're slanting left on this, because again, if I didn't mention, their tackle ended up going off to play at Central Michigan. So 4 technique's going to ricochet off that guard after he feels the down block by the 4 technique. The offensive tackle does a great job getting back out to make the play. We also, our slant, while we gave him the edge, we still got our corners for us. We still got our LA player. And now our linebacker, he's got guard right at him. He can read flow. He knows that A gap can be covered by his backside linebacker, because that backside linebacker picks up flow. So he's able to scrape and actually get out to the D gap. So we got kind of a 2-for-1. Our safety doesn't even need to make a play in the alley. And again, also the other thing with the spill philosophy and being okay with giving up the edge, as long as you got that force player. Now they had to adjust their blocking scheme a little bit. That halfback doesn't see his kick out, so he's a little unsure. And he's bigger and stronger than our corner, so he gets a nice block. But we get what we want. We make sure the ball doesn't stay on path and C gap. So power coming to the bottom of the screen here. Our 5 technique is in the C gap. Flips his hips. Does a nice job of penetrating. Our 9 technique ends up getting kicked back some. But the penetration through that double team and that hip flip lets our 5 technique get in position to pursue and make a nice tackle. See him there, sit flip. They never really get a good run through, a good kick out of their halfback because that 5 technique ate up so much of the double team. Reset the line of scrimmage. Last couple clips here, guys. We'll see some great secondary play. Corners playing force. He's responsible for killing the spill. Continues to the ball carrier completely unblocked because we filled our gaps inside. And we end up creating a turnover. Better shot, as always, from the end zone camera. So our 9 techniques down inside. He's spilling. He actually ends up, we get a 2-for-1 because the halfback and fullback are both trying to block him on a power ISO here. That ensures that our corner is completely unblocked. The near back's up inside. He knows again if nothing's threatening his flat when the ball carrier turns up inside like that, and the safety can cover the deep route, the flag route, if one even happens. Pulls his trigger, puts his face mask on the ball, and it's out. Huge play. Huge play late in the game. Another secondary support play. Ball carrier is completely bottled up by, again, the corners forcing and the safety and the backs and the inside pursuit. Check the end zone film where we got it tagged up a little bit more. Fill all our gaps. We're on a called squeeze. Ball goes wide. Corner near hips. Great job with a roll tackle. Cutting them down. Exactly how it's drawn up defensively. So now we're still killing the spill. Our halfback, this reads actually easier. Our halfback moved out to a wing position. We're keying him. If he hooks up on that 9 technique, I can pull my trigger. 9 techs in D gap. Does a good job trying to spill, actually. Gets a nice 2-for-1 because he's trying to spill the guard. So he got the tight end down block. Take it back, let you guys see that. Sorry, that keeps popping up. So, 9 technique, punches his tight end. Continues down inside, gets a 2-for-1, takes on that guard, gets a wing back to block down on him, and now our corner's completely free. There's no one left to block him. Took all the air out, corner comes up. I'd like him to have his hat on the outside there instead, so that way he keeps himself safe and whatnot, and also just leverages the ball better and doesn't get run over as much. But great pursuit from the backside after we set that edge. End zone shot quick. Bunch of gaps canceled inside. Corner pulls his trigger. Pursuit shows up. Okay. Now we got our Ellie fit out of our safety. He's got to be a little bit slow because he's responsible for the deep half. But the second he sees that tight end start to hook up, he could pull his trigger and go. In the end, if he's making a ton of tackles, you're not making stops, because they're going to be getting, like they do on this play, about 6 yards. But he's going to make sure that touchdown doesn't happen. What's really going to make your stops is the on-block corner pulling his trigger, and then the fill and the scrape by your inside linebackers. 9 technique spills. And because he's squeezing that tight end, it's down block. He's stepping with it, getting hands on that tight end, and then looking to spill the near back. That lets that safety confirm, hey, this down block and the halfback hooks up, I can pull my trigger and go. And then also down in distance and game situation, that's a number 62. They're trying to get an extra blocker in there with an offensive lineman in the backfield. He could have pulled his trigger even faster if he would have known that. Right there, the offense has a really good play, actually. They do a great job. They log that 9 technique. They get their wall of down blocks made. The halfback ends up eventually leaking out to the corner late, but he was down inside first. So that safety ends up in the alley. Just a good football play all around. Offense wins this one because they got 6 yards on the play. It's going to keep the chains moving. But a good fit. Another shot of our safety. Jump straight to play here. Safety's keying that tight end to that near back for us. Deep half. He's looking for a post or a flag. Tight end's definitely down blocking right now. So safety's staying flat-footed. He's alerted, ready to pull the trigger. He just needs confirmation. Where's the halfback going? Halfback's inside 2, and he starts to go right now. Fits downhill, and this one makes a heck of a play for a 2-yard stop. Here's us on our slant and squeeze technique. Big play. I believe this is our 4 technique when we go to the end zone view. Chops things down, and we get the ball spilled. Right here. This 4 technique is what you saw on the wide view. He's on a called squeeze. In fact, the whole defensive line is. Some people call it Okie Dog Pinch. Comes down inside, makes a pile, knocks off a pulling guard. So we get a bunch of pursuit. Play side linebacker. Watch how downhill he is. Now a lot of people are like, well, he made the play out in D-gap. He does. That's because we collapsed everything. Corner provides force. We chop the kid down and make a nice play. Last shot for you. Complete mud bowl. Complete mud bowl. The 5 tech, he's going to get the, I believe they end up on-blocking. No, yeah, they on-block this, so he ends up with a one-on-one block. And he's C-gap responsible to start. Does a great job, has his hips in there, throws the tackle to the side and makes the play. And what really lets him make the play here, we're going to have the end zone view. What really lets him make the play here ends up being our inside linebackers filling B-gap. He's taking his first open gap. Fills downhill. If that inside linebacker pulls his trigger a little harder, instead of 4 yards, we're meeting at the line of scrimmage. And this will be the last clip, guys. This is showing why we prefer a 2 high and we let our corners have cutback responsibilities. This is you saw the complete cluster of us getting lined up. This is the last play of the game. So a bunch of backups in at most spots. And this corner, his job, he's keying that backfield flow. All right, back goes away. I'm looking for the first back that comes through. I'm going to shuffle across, keep my shoulders square. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. There he is. Ends up making a nice roll tackle. Chops him down. Finishes up the ball game. End zone view. We got a misalignment by one of our outside linebackers, so they really
really get the edge here. But after they get the edge, the kid cuts back. Our inside linebacker is actually a little flat there. Kid cuts back, and right there's our corner. The fullback's fake got taken down, got tackled. Corner sprints across, makes a great tackle on the last play of the game. Always nice as a coach, when you got guys playing hard through every play of the game. So, thanks a bunch, guys, for tuning into this episode. Hopefully, again, it was entertaining and informative. If you want to see more, please check episodes 1 through 3 in the links down below. As always, guys, if you have questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Check me out and follow me on Twitter at Coach Klee. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. And if you have anything that maybe requires a longer response, hit me up at coachbrienklee@gmail.com. Thanks as always for tuning in. See you again.